Welcome, everyone. It's always so dramatic with the countdown. I love it. Gets me excited. We are so glad to have all of you here with us today on this presentation with Harness and D-Zone called Measuring CI/CD Transformations with Engineering Intelligence. My name is Jesse, and I will be your host today. To get us started, first of all, this is a live webinar. Please do interact on the chat that you see on your screen. You can start by putting in your name, where you're from, say hi. And with me, I'm excited to introduce Adib. Adib leads the developer productivity function at Harness, where he works closely with Fortune 500 customers to drive engineering efficiency, improve developer experience, and align software delivery efforts with business outcomes, which is awesome. With a focus on measurable insights, Adib helps organizations turn engineering data into actionable intelligence that fuels continuous improvement. He brings a unique blend of technical depth and strategic vision, helping teams unlock their full potential through data-driven transformation. It's great to have you, Adib. Quick note before we get started, feel free to use that chat feature I just mentioned. Welcome Sergio from Buenos Aires and Mark from, Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. Great, so good to have you all, awesome. We're gonna have a Q&A session at the end, right? So you see the chat over there's also Q&A. So in that, drop your questions as we go through the session and we'll make sure that we get all of those at the end. Now, join me in welcoming Adib.
Thank you, Jesse. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Adib Valiola, and I'm thrilled to be here for this webinar titled Measuring CI/CD Transformations with Engineering Intelligence. Over the next 40 minutes, we are going to explore how organizations can use metrics, not just to track progress, but to drive real business outcomes. But first, introductions and why it really matters. For those who don't know me, I'm the Director of Engineering Excellence at Harness. I work with engineering leaders across the industries, from cybersecurity to gaming to finance, helping them improve delivery outcomes through data. I'm also a pattern inventor, a frequent speaker, and the host of the podcast Metrics That Matter. So if you love metrics as much as I do, you're in the right space. Let's start with this big idea. CI/CD isn't the goal. Outcomes are. We don't migrate CI/CD just to say we have done it. We do it to ship faster, with higher quality, and with less risk. But how do we know if we are succeeding? That's exactly where engineering intelligence comes in. Here's the challenge though. Most CI/CD transformations stall or fall short. Why? Because there's no way to measure if it's actually working. Teams are moving fast, but they're flying blind. And without visibility, you cannot prove success. You can fix it, but you cannot fix it what you cannot see. What teams really miss? So let me ask you this. Have you ever invested in a big transformation only to realize that you cannot quantify the benefits? I know I have. That's a scary place to be. Invisible bottlenecks, fragmented tooling, wasted investment, all results from lack of measurement. And it leads to missed deadlines, higher cost, and very low team morale. See, the good news is it's fixable. Now, does this sound familiar? There's no baseline, there's no clear objectives. Underestimating how complex it is. Teams jumping in without understanding how success will be tracked. These are the landmines we see over and over again. That's exactly why we created Harness Software Engineering Insights, to give leaders the clarity to steer through this. So why does engineering intelligence is the missing link? Engineering intelligence is how we fix things. With Harness Software Engineering Insights, you get full visibility from your code commit to customer impact. This isn't just about dashboards. It's about creating a data-driven culture that drives better decision at every level. Think of SEI as your control tower. It surfaces what really matters and helps you act faster. With Software Engineering Insights, you're not just tracking metrics. You're turning them into momentum. You can spot bottlenecks. You can spot the slowdowns, align your delivery teams with strategy, and build transparency your executives crave for. This is how you make engineering data tell a good business story. Before we jump into the metrics, let's do a quick poll. The poll should be now open. So where is your organization today in measuring CI/CD performance? Right, there are a few options I'm very curious to, right? And I already see some results coming in. Thank you for your participation. We're still getting started. We track some metrics, but it's manual and inconsistent. We use DORA metrics, but not beyond that. We have dashboard, but adoption is low. We consistently use metrics to drive engineering and business outcomes. I'll give it another 30 seconds. Right now, the leading answer is we are still getting started. No formal measurements yet. Almost half of the audience over here has no formal measurements yet. But no worries, this is why this session is for you guys. And that number is now 60%. All right, another 10 seconds and we'll close the poll. And the poll is closed. Wow. So we have 57% of the audience are still getting started. No formal measurements yet. The second place is we track some metrics, but it's manual and inconsistent. I can feel that pain. We have dashboards, but adoption is low across teams. Objectives and goals can help there. And then the last remaining are we have DORA, but nothing beyond that. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's jump back to the webinar. So let's talk about the metrics that really matter. The 4 DORA metrics are foundational, right? As you see, a few of the folks on the call do measure DORA. The lead time for change, deployment frequency, change failure rate, and mean time to restore. These are not just vanity metrics. They are vital signs for your software delivery health. SEI makes them visible across every single team. But let's just not stop there. Dora is amazing, it's great, but real transformation means digging deeper. PR cycle time, PR is pull request. Unapproved pull request. Unapproved pull request is an indication that you are allowing quality and security issues into your production environment. KTLO, which just keeps the lights on versus innovation, is a good ratio to measure. Scope creep is another one. These are the signals that reveal how your organization is truly functioning. And Software Engineering Insights captures them all. Now picture this for a second. Your lead time improves by 75%. While you improve your lead time, you are improving quality by 50%. You go from guessing to knowing, and more importantly, you can prove it. That is the power of engineering intelligence. And it's happening in real organizations today. Let's first diagnose some pipeline bottlenecks. Right? Where does your delivery get stuck? These are just few examples I have seen in the industry, but Software Engineering Insights answers that. Delayed PR creation, long review cycles, unapproved merges, and slow deployments. Each of these steps is tracked and very transparent, which means no more assumptions. It's just clarity. So one company we work with cut review times by 60% just by identifying a gap in their process. Another flagged hundreds of unapproved PRs that were silently hurting quality. These insights came fast and they changed the game for our customers. But let's talk business impact. There's engineering impact. How do we translate into business impact? What is business impact? So faster lead time means faster features. Lower change failure rate means fewer escalations. KTLO, keep the lights on, ratio tells you if you are building or just maintaining. You want to have a healthy balance of innovation, but also run the engine you have. These are the metrics your CFO and Chief Product Officer care about. SEI bridges the language gap. Let's speak the CFO language for a second. Executives, they don't want graphs. They want clarity and impact. Is our investment working? Are we delivering faster? Are we innovating or just firefighting? SEI gives you those answers in real time and with credibility. But let's look at some real world case studies. In one case, a cloud security company saw 95x deployment frequency improvement while lowering down their lead time by 55%. In addition to this, we also saw a 240% spike in their scope creep, which means as soon as planning is complete, things keep getting added on or deleted once the commitment is done. And if you make a change after a commitment is done, it will be harder for the teams to deliver on those commitments. It's an important metric to capture. SEI helped them spot it early and course correct. That's what separates success from chaos. A global gaming company used SEI to reduce change failure rate by 83%. Imagine playing a game and you're shooting and the guns, it stops working, right? There's a huge bug. And in today's day and age, if quality is down, you're losing your customer base to some other game competitor. It's very crucial. Not only that, they were very efficient in reducing their unapproved PRs by 60%. Both of these metrics measure quality right off the gate. SEI also spotted burnout. Coding days dropped by 13%, and leadership was able to respond quickly, rebalance their workload, and sustain the performance. So data isn't just for speed. It's for your team health as well, your team morale. Now let's look at velocity versus stability tug of war. Another company pushed hard on velocity, 95 plus deployments per day. But with that came change failure rate. It rose. Unapproved PRs skyrocketed. So yeah, you're deploying faster, but you're not focusing on quality, you're focused on quantity. SEI exposed the trade-off and helped them reset. They automated the reviews, reestablished rigor, and this resulted in an 83% improvement in their idea to thank you phase, and 22% improvement in PR cycle time. That's how speed and quality can coexist together. CI/CD maturity model is something I created to help customers understand where do they land, right? Where are you on your CI/CD journey? SEI teams help you move from reactive, which is on your left-hand side, to instrumented, to insights-driven, and finally business-aligned. Each stage is a leap forward in how you measure, decide, and lead. Ask yourself this: are we reactive or are we strategic? Are we tracking progress? Are we tracking performance, or truly improving it? The maturity model is your roadmap, and SEI is your vehicle. Right? You want to be on the right-hand side of the spectrum in this one, where you have business alignment. You're able to measure the metrics, but also translate them into business impact. So how do we get started, right? How do you begin in this journey? Where do I start? What should I look at? Those are very important questions. I lay out a 6-step process, and I'll walk you through each in a bit of a detail, because this is an important one. Number one is connecting your SDLC tool set, right? So your SDLC tool set could start from planning, which is your JIRAs and ADOs. Planning happens, that planning gets converted into design documents. Your developers now understand the stories, what they are working on, and they move into source code management, which is where they start coding. So your Bitbuckets, your GitHub. Once you're done with that merge converts into a container in your CI. You could use Harness CI, you could use other CIs out there. And finally, that container converts into a deployment into your CD, and finally your customers use it. So the entire idea to thank you phase, right? So identify your tool chains, connect your tool chains. Now, important call out. There are a lot of customers who work with a lot of tool chains, right? We try to throw a tool to a problem and we end up having a ton of tools. So there's legacy tools, there's new tools. You got to make sure you identify the right tool chain so you get the right measurements. Once you do have your tool chains, then you figure out your profiles, right? Bigger enterprise, higher organizations may or may not have multiple business units. I have worked with organizations who have had multiple business units in their organization. Within that business unit, you have multiple teams. And within that multiple teams, you may or may not follow one process. One team does deployment one way, one team does deployment the other way. One team's idea to thank you is completely different than the other teams, right? So focus on creating these workflow profiles, right? Profiles for your DORA metrics, profile for your alignment, right? If you want to measure KTLO versus innovation, or you want to measure building new stuff versus improving existing stuff, or technical debt, right? You want to measure your automation journey. You want CapEx versus OpEx data, right? To figure out your profiles and create them. Either have one consistent profile for all teams, but if you don't, not a problem. At least Software Engineering Insights allows you to create multiple profiles, but we recommend having one profile so teams can be measured equally. Now, I understand it's hard to change and transform and whatnot, but again, we are all on a transformation journey anyways, right? Once that is complete, we then move on to the third and the most important step. Build targeted dashboards and configure them. Now, the idea is not to create 50 to 100 bar graphs with different colors. That's not the goal, right? The goal is to have a curated dashboard which is strategically aligned to your objectives. And based on that, create the dashboard so you have very transparent visibility into what's happening into your engineering factory, your execution center, and everybody's aligned, right? Because today I'm going to measure one thing, tomorrow some other leader comes and they want to measure other things. Now you're very disjoined, right? So recommendation would be, as an organizational level, define those objectives. Based on those objectives, define that dashboard and set a review cadence. The number 5 and number 6 are very important for me. So the foundation is step 1, 2, and 3. From there, you can start measuring and managing change. Engineering Metrics Program is a program we created at Harness to help organizations start their transformation journey. Define the objectives, create the process, create the profiles, understand what are you going after, right? Measuring, rinsing, and repeating. That's essentially the Engineering Metrics Program, right? It is meant to be a framework, but if you want to change around a metrics, e-metric here and there, it is flexible, right? We want to make sure it is flexible and usable for all kinds of possibilities out there. And then the last one is persona-based metrics. This is very important, very near and dear to me, because yes, you have metrics, yes, you have dashboards, but not all metrics cater to all the personas. Every organization out there has executives. Then they have directors. You have development managers, you have leads, you have product organization, and the program organization, which is your scrum master or program managers. Each one of them can make use of the dashboard, but each one of them care for different things at different frequency. For example, if I am a product manager, I want to understand how much time does a team take to deliver value to my customers. What is my velocity? What is my quality? But I want to know this on a week-to-week, maybe bi-weekly basis. The executive cares about this, but not on a bi-weekly basis. They have other things on their plate, but they should care about business alignment. Are my teams working on the right items? Are they working on the items we agreed as an organization? How much time my organization takes to deliver value to your customers? Developer managers and others may have different metrics and different frequencies, which is why we have implemented persona-based metrics. Highly recommend. We'll share links later, but it's a very crucial step, and I wanted to spend time to help you understand how to get going with software engineering insights. So don't just install, right? That's not the goal. You gotta adopt. Metrics aren't a side project. They are a cultural shift. Assigning dashboard owners, use data in your retros and planning, give your executive team clarity and your teams the purpose. If your teams have purpose and if you're able to deliver that, it makes a significant improvement in their morale and your output will significantly change for the better. With SEI, this becomes real, not just a slide deck. In the beginning, I said it's a cultural shift, right? And I always like to use this as an example. If I want to lose weight, I can not eat for 2 days or a week, probably see change here and there, but I won't move the needle at all. It needs to be a lifestyle change. I need to have better sleep, proper intake of water, portion control, healthy eating, obviously working out, right? So there are multiple lead bullets, not one silver bullet, right? And it needs to be a change in how you do things because the outcome in 3 months would be fantastic, right? And then I will course correct based on things which work for me, which doesn't work for me. It's the same concept here. Figure out the metrics, apply the change, measure the impact, rinse and repeat. Let's wrap up, right? There's a lot of things I captured in this session right now. CI/CD transformation is a absolute journey. You cannot go from 0 to 100 in 1 second. Not even Tesla can do that. To wrap it up, CI/CD success is measuring. You got to have the insights to improve, and then you got to take actions to transform. That's what SEI unlocks. It's how you turn transformation into tangible business value, right? But let's stay connected. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this session, let's stay connected. Follow me on LinkedIn. You can read my blogs on Medium. I do host a Metrics That Matter podcast available on Apple and Spotify. There should be links popping up on your screen to either connect with me on LinkedIn and now look at my podcast. It is meant to be a thought leadership podcast to help you understand how to transform your journey, how to measure for the right impact. What does developer productivity mean? What should I measure? What is persona-based metrics? And it's meant to be 15-minute and around that time. So, it's a good listen if you don't have time for a video. If you have questions, ideas, or want to bring this talk to your teams, please reach out. I would love to hear from you. And thanks again. Here's to a smarter, faster, and more impactful engineering. With that, I'll hand it over to Jesse. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that presentation, Dave. Very interesting. And I love the angle, turning all that data and all those metrics into intelligence and things we can do with it. Good stuff. We do have some questions from the audience. So we'll, for those of you out there, if you have some, I see some voting up going on, but if you have some questions, put them in there. The first question, you talked a lot about visibility and measurement. What's the one metric every team should start tracking if they're new to this?
That's a great question. If I had to pick one, it would be lead time for change. It's the best proxy for how fast your engineering team is delivering value. And once you baseline that, you can immediately start diagnosing what's slowing you down. Whether it's PR reviews, CI/CD, or process overhead.
Okay.
It's the heartbeat of software delivery.
That's a good answer. All right. The next one, let's see here. How do you make sure that engineering metrics don't just become another reporting chore for teams? That's a good one.
That's a big one. See, metrics only work when they're tied to action. At Harness, we make sure SEI dashboards are not just top-down reporting. They are part of our retros, sprint planning, and OKR discussions. Harness uses Harness, just so you know. We align views to personas so developers see insights that matter to them. And executives get the strategic visibility. It's about enabling smarter decisions, not just adding more charts.
Please don't make me build another BI dashboard that you're not going to read. I get it. I know where the question comes from. Okay, so the next one. Then I love this one. What's the biggest surprise that companies discover when they start using SEI to measure these CI/CD transformations? I love that. What's the biggest surprise?
Yeah, honestly, the biggest surprise is how many issues were hiding in just plain sight. Right? Peter Drucker says you cannot improve what you cannot measure. Right? If I have no idea what's wrong, forget the improving part. Right? The team often think they have a process problem, but when they dig in with the data, it turns out they have a review bottleneck. Or unapproved PRs quietly bypassing quality check. You know, there's rubber stamping, right? I know this friend of mine. Can you please just approve it, right? So SEI makes that invisible visible, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You just have to act on it, right?
I love that. Yeah, that's great. The next one is for leaders who are just starting their CI/CD journey. What's your advice to avoid the most common pitfalls?
Yeah, I would say start with clear objectives.
Okay.
Without a target, you won't be able to shoot at the right spot. Right? So clear objectives and baselining everything. You don't need perfect data to begin.
Yeah.
Just consistent measurement, right? And remember, transformation is not a switch. I would love if it was a switch. It's a journey. Right? And tools like Software Engineering Insights, they give you the feedback you need to course correct along the way.
Love that.
And make sure someone owns the metric. Ownership drives accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I thought, Jesse, you were supposed to do it. Jesse thought he was supposed to do it.
Yeah, if nobody owns it,
accountability is big, right?
Yeah, no, not 5 people owning it, 1. I love that. And we do have one last one. Like, how do you avoid getting lost in the data? Like, there's tons and tons of data. Like, how do you get lost and filter out the noise?
I'll give you my example. I've implemented Software Engineering Insights in my previous organizations, and you start with your output. Mm-hmm. My output were innovation is almost dead. Quality is ridiculous. Customers are not happy. And this this means weekend work for my teams, right? Friday comes and I'm very embarrassed to ask my team to hey, work on this fix, right? What we did is, obviously we had Dora and Dev Insights, and we looked at alignment and all of that stuff. But my objectives were just these three things. Where do I start? I picked three metrics. I started with lead time for change. That told me there's something wrong with how my developers are developing. You double click on that and you immediately see 85% of my PRs, of our organization PRs, are unapproved, which means quality and security issues are just going through in the production environment, which speaks directly to the quality issues we were having, right? And the third thing is, every build we got went back to the developers 1.7 times, right? So which means, again, quality, and we're just trying to speed up more quantity over quality. And we picked three items: lead time, PR approvals, right?
Yeah.
And our bounce rate. And we made some transformational changes. No more unapproved PRs for 3 months, and now 95% of our PRs are approved, right?
That's awesome.
So don't get caught up in all of the data. Look at why you want insights. Look at your objectives, translate them into measurable metrics, assign an owner, and hold your team accountable.
I love that. Just start small. Don't get overwhelmed. Love it. Great advice. Great advice. Is the next one, what is your definition of CI/CD? And if I read the question, it's where does this stuff start? Where's your definition? Where does CI start, really? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Your idea to thank you phase is more than CI/CD. It starts from your planning. It goes into development. That development team will merge the last code into your CI tool. That becomes a container. That container becomes a deployment. That's your CD. And then your customers are using your product, and either you get a thank you or a sorry, right? And my definition is, CI/CD is very important, right? Automated rollbacks. You have governance issues, right? You are bottlenecked in process. Oh my God, I'm waiting on my team member to manually approve. All of that stuff is just slowing you down, right? And manual intervention, unfortunately, will have errors, and it will further slow you down, right? So automate your role deployments. Have automated role. Those are the services you need to look at just from a CI/CD standpoint. But that's the beauty of an engineering intelligence platform, right? We just don't give you insights into CI and CD. The outcome could be you need a better CI/CD. Right? Yeah. But the insights could be, hey, your teams are not following review best practices. Your teams are burnout, or your teams are not even, they're just cruising. Right? Your velocity is significantly down, or your velocity is significantly high, but your scope creep is also. So there's so many smoke signals, right? You pick and choose what really matters to for your organization, and then rinse and repeat.
Love that. All right, looks like we got one more. On the SCI front, are we leveraging AI innovations yet? And if not, what's the future look like?
Great question. So a lot of organization, I was almost worried that the word AI never came up in a talk.
I was not worried.
Right. So a lot of organizations have started using generative AI code assist tool. Right? I have the Google Cloud Gemini code assist. I have a GitHub Copilot. I have a Codium or SourceGraph, or now Windsurf, right? What organizations are challenges? Yes, we have deployed. Now we have no way to measure their measure the investment we made. Yeah. Right. Harness Software Engineering Insights has AI productivity insights, which help organization measure the investment they made in 3 pillars. One is velocity, which is like, okay, you're using code assistant. Let me see your velocity. Are your PR? Do you have better PRs? Are you reducing your your lead time? What about your merges? Then we go into quality. Okay, you have someone assisting you in your code. What is the quality? How much rework versus refactor is happening? And on top of it, and this is very near and dear to me, we collaborated with the Google Dora team to bring in developer sentiment part of the platform, right? So now you have quantitative and qualitative feedback on our platform. You can curate the questions that are sent to your developers on a quarterly basis, monthly basis. You choose your frequency, and data comes in, and you can measure that. We do have plans to integrate more and more of AI, right? Recommendations and summaries and whatnot. But those are planned out. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's it. Like, we got through all the questions. Great job. And it's time to end, right? But don't worry, for those of you out there, if you have other questions, you can follow up. One of my questions is always, Adib, where can people go to learn more? And look at that. LinkedIn, Medium, Apple, Spotify, there's all kinds of places. Is there anywhere else people can go to learn more about Harness that's not up here on the screen?
Yes, you just type in harness.io, right? When you go into harness.io, Harness is a modern, we are solving a problem near and dear to each and every developer and executive, right? We are solving problems in each and every swim lane, if you will, where engineering teams have their hands on, right? Whether it could be IDP, or developers come in to get better onboarding. I have all my API documents, templates, and plugins in one place, so your developers can onboard. Because believe it or not, it takes almost 60 days and more to get developers onboarded, which means they're not being productive for the first 2 months. No wonder your lead time or your developer are being slow, right? We help with IDP, internal developer portal. We have cloud developer environment. We are the leaders in CI and CD. If you want to toggle your feature management, you use FME, right? On top of it, all of this about you want to save on your cloud costs, right? We have cloud cost modules, right? So Harness is the AI modern platform, AI modern delivery platform, and we are looking at AI first, right? So you have AI DevOps and AI QA agents, and you have AI DevOps agents to help you through the journey, right? So no longer creating the pipeline. You just add a prompt, and it will create the pipeline with governance. It will do auto checking. It will run the test for you. I'm truly passionate about this segment because innovation has not been there in the industry, and we are tackling this problem, and super excited of where we are going.
Dude, that's great, man. Well, thank you so much for getting on today, and thank you to all of you out there for tuning in. And we hope you found the session valuable, informative. And if you have any further questions or like more information, tons of ways you can reach out to Adib and the team over at Harness. Once again, thanks for joining Harness and D-Zone today. Have a great rest of your day.